Well, welcome to my next video. So, this one is going to be over the topic of death. And an interesting thing that you can think about with the topic of death is what exactly death is. So, one of the things that I have been thinking about recently is the fact that die, when people die, their body is. Are we gonna have camera problems again? When people die, their body is still there, and it on the outside. You know, if they died from like a heart attack or something, like obviously if they were like shot or stabbed, their outside body's gonna look different. But sometimes when people die from like disease or whatever, their body looks exactly the same. Well, maybe like over time it looks different, and of course it is going to. But like right whenever they die, like their body is still the same, and they still have a body. But people say that they're gone. They go, "Oh, he's gone." But then you could ask the question, okay, well, his body is still here. So what do you mean he is gone or she is gone? What does that mean? And maybe even without realizing it, people consider people to be more than their physical body. And maybe they're just referring to the fact that their brain doesn't work anymore, or they at least they think their brain doesn't work anymore. But that person is gone. Like the second they die, that person is gone, but their body is still there. And so what does it mean to die? What it means to die is that you are in the spiritual realm, let's say, or wherever you go after you die. So what that means what that means for you now, whenever you're alive right now, that means that you aren't your body. You aren't your body. Your body is not you. Because whenever you die, you're in heaven or hell. But your body's on earth. Your body like rots away. So, and it makes for a really good metaphor in the New Testament also. Who will save me from this body of sin? Because the body is detached from the soul at death, and it is, you could say, it's attached at conception. One of the mysteries of God's creation is how the heck people can reproduce. In my opinion, I just have no idea how that works. Like, how on earth do you make more conscious people? To me, that just doesn't make any sense. How the heck does that happen? So I guess it's something I might want to learn about in the future. But that's not really the topic. The topic is death. And so I wanted to bring up that point that you aren't your body, because when you die, your body is here, but you are gone. And then so of course you can ask yourself who you are. And if I don't end up being able to talk about death for the next 2 hours, then I might come back to that topic. But for now, we're going to be actually talking about death. That is unlike my other video, I want to actually maintain one subject. You could also say that. Well, so firstly, there's two deaths. And then the second thing I want to talk about is the other deaths that you can have. So the first death, everyone is at least somewhat familiar with, and that is your physical earth death, the death of your body, but not the death of you. The second death is if you go to hell. That's your second death. And the second death is the death of your soul. And that's really whenever you die, right? one of the things you can think about as a Christian is that people don't die. Their body stops working. And that's different. That's different because when people die, when the person dies, that means they go to hell. So, there's two types of death. And then the other thing is people die multiple times. This is a metaphor, right? People die multiple times. Like, what do you mean? How do people die multiple times? It's whenever you are called to do something and you don't obey your calling. Whenever God says to you, I want you to go speak to the city of Nineveh, like that's the story of Jonah. Jonah is called by God to go and speak to the city of Nineveh. And he's like, no, I actually don't want to. And then he gets into the belly of a whale for the next 3 days, or for at least 3 days, right? And there's a whole story to that. So he's called by God, and I don't know if the Bible says it, but it's at least speculated that Jonah was called by God on a mountain, right? Because a mountain's where the heavens, as in the sky, and the earth meet, is on a mountain. So he's on a mountain, and he gets a divine revelation to go to the city of Nineveh and speak to the people. But he doesn't listen. And so he goes from the top of the hill, he goes down onto sea level, whatever, ground. Then he goes down into a dock. He goes down into a boat. He goes down into the deck of the boat to sleep. He gets woken up, and they're like, all right, well, how do we stop this storm from taking over our ship and we all drowning? And Nineveh's like, you know what? I made a mistake. Throw me off. And so he gets thrown down into the water, and then he gets eaten by a whale, and then he goes into the belly of the whales, right? So that's basically just a descent into hell because he didn't obey God. And so that's a death, right? Because he's in hell, so he died. Now, you can die from doing something wrong. You can die from not living your life in accordance to the calling that God has called you to. But you can also die and be reborn by the Holy Spirit. So what's that death? Jesus says in the Gospels that if you are not born again of the Holy Spirit, then you will not enter into the kingdom of heaven. That doesn't make any sense. Well, go read John chapter 3, where Jesus is talking to Nicodemus. And he is a Pharisee, so he's like a preacher of Jews at that time, basically, right? Religious guy. Very well. That's arguable. People saw him as a religious guy, right? He's supposed to be a pastor, in some sense. And Jesus says something very interesting. He says that the idea of dying and being reborn is in the Old Testament. And then you pair that with Jesus saying himself, if you are not reborn again of the Holy Spirit, you will not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Which means that Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Noah, all these guys, if they are in heaven, then they were reborn. So how can someone be reborn? That's Nicodemus. That's the Pharisees' question. I said it right the first time, and I can't pronounce his name. It's a big name, big words. It's like the other guy in the story of Daniel. What's his name? Nebuchadnezzar, right? Nebuchadnezzar and Nicodemus. There we go, Nicodemus. So, but he doesn't understand. So what does this mean? This means that you have to sacrifice so much of yourself or be willing to sacrifice so much of yourself, which is pretty much the same thing. Be willing to sacrifice so much of yourself that you basically die and are reborn. And that sacrificing is you're sacrificing your own will, your own desires, what you want, the plan that you set out for yourself. You're sacrificing you, so much of you that you die and you are reborn of the Holy Spirit. So now let's actually get into my fear of death and how that was overcome. So, when I was a young kid, a young lad, my life was pretty good. I had a lot of Legos. I love to play with Legos. Went outside a lot. I was a happy kid. I wasn't a depressed kid. But for some reason, I had a big fear of death. It would always come to me at nighttime. It's hot in here, man. We're supposed to get an air vent tomorrow. I don't know how loud it's going to be, if my mic's going to pick up too much of it. But I had a fear of death. And it probably started at the age of 5. It was pretty young. And it would always come to me in my, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, right before bed. And that's really how it always is. Even now, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna die one day, but I'm going to heaven. But right before I go to bed and right whenever I wake up, if I think about that, it's 10 times more terrifying. Fun fact, actually, I was thinking about this death and was still quite afraid right before I recorded my video right before this, 3 a.m. Thoughts, which I think is going to be the title forever. But my first video that you're probably seeing on this channel, I've uploaded 4 or 5 videos before this, and I took them down. I probably shouldn't have, but I took them down because I want to repurpose this channel for videos like this, where I just sit here and talk for 2 hours. Because I think it's going to be good for me, because honestly, I'm learning. I think I learned from myself whenever I made that other video. And I've already recorded a 30-minute video about this subject, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to keep up the pace and keep doing 2-hour-long videos. So I'm trying to extend this out, but I don't want to just blabber on. I want to actually give advice. So as a young kid, I was just scared to death. I would just sit there, I would lay in bed, and I'd be like, dang, I'm going to die one day. And I didn't believe in an afterlife at the time, and so that was actually really scary. I was quite terrified of that. And I was terrified of non-existence. I didn't think there was anything after death. I didn't know there was anything after death. So I thought that there wasn't anything after death. That everything just goes black. And you can't think. And you're just there in space, but with nothing else. And to me, that was terrifying. And, I guess it is kind of terrifying. If I was an atheist, I'd probably just be, scared every night of death. So, maybe that's why I'm not. It's not, because there was a period in my life where I didn't think about death, and that was the period in which I became Christian. I actually started fearing death a little bit after I became Christian. And so I had to, before my last video, I had to, go over with myself the evidence for God and why there is an afterlife and why I'm going to the afterlife. Like, maybe there is an afterlife, but like, am I going? And I know the answer is yes, and I never said the answer was no. It's just the thought terrifies me. Now it does so less. Way less. But it's still there. And it's still something that I'm conquering. But I say that I've conquered it because I no longer believe it. I just debate it. Right? I never say, oh yeah, there's no afterlife. I just have to tell myself over and over again why there is an afterlife. And yeah, so that went on for a little bit. I remember going into my parents' bedroom, I think one night. I just told them I was scared. I don't know if I ever told them why, but it was because I didn't want to die. So, and you know, sometimes you question why you suffer. You ask God, like, why am I suffering? Like, couldn't I just not suffer and do the same thing, maybe even do better? And for me, I think I just realized the fact just now that maybe this suffering was to allow me to conquer that fear of death, because there was a 1 week period in my life where I woke up and at some point during the day, every single day for a week, I thought I was going to die. That's one heck of a way to conquer your fear of death. So, fan, please. I need to like scooch back a foot, have this fan lay under me. I think my fan was off for like 2 hours, so the room actually got like hot. But now it's cooling off, so now it's good. But I am struggling because of it. You see my last video, I had a bathrobe and a hoodie on. In this video, I've got a t-shirt on, and I'm hot over here. So you can tell the difference between my room at my house and this room at my grandparents' house. Oh, Pikachu right there. It's in the video. But yeah, so that's one heck of a way to conquer your fears, to wake up every day for a week and think that you're going to die at some point during the day. And there was one day where it was like hours long of me just sitting there thinking like, dude, I just feel so off. I feel like I'm going to die. And so I conquered the fear of death, because eventually I was just like, well, if I die, then who cares? Well, people are going to care, right? My parents are going to care. I mean, like, I'm going to go to heaven. There's an afterlife, so who cares? And that's the mindset that I've got now with this death thing. So that's one of the reasons that I've conquered the fear of death. I guess that's two. I already explained both. The fact that I know there's an afterlife, and so who cares? And the fact that I went through that 1 week, and even, days all around. So, I mean, they're probably like a month worth of days where at some point during the day I thought, like, dude, I'm either going to, like, pass out or, like, die. And I haven't passed out yet. If you don't know, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can kind of see it. So that's eczema on my hand. Wow, it actually looks really good right now. Okay, this hand you can see. Yeah, there you go. Oh, now you can see this one. This one actually, these actually like look better than they used to be. So this, well, actually I said it was eczema. It might not be eczema. I went to a dermatologist and I was told that this is eczema. And I went to a cardiologist and I was told that the blood vessels in my hand are like smaller, and so less blood's getting to my hand, which explains why they get so darn cold so fast in like 60-degree weather. You touch my hands and you're surprised how I don't have frostbite or hypothermia. So, but I have that, and so I don't know what the heck the cardiologist said. I honestly forgot. It was a month ago, and I didn't really listen that much. But basically, he said that somehow blood's draining from my head in extreme weathers, like extreme heat and extreme cold. I don't know about the extreme cold. Heat, yes, definitely heat. Um, yeah. So there's something wrong with me, and the cardiologist was like, "Yeah, this happens to kids. Um, they said that it goes away, so basically deal with it." And that's like, so I really, like, I can't go outside if it's more than 80 degrees. I can't go outside for more than like half an hour, maybe less. Um, if it's like 90 and there's like a cold breeze or just any wind in general, um, I can survive. But yeah, so not good. I have some sort of health condition that's not good. I said to my mom, I was, whenever I move out and I'm able to eat my own food and stuff, how much do you want to bet that whenever I go on an all steak diet, a carnivore diet, I just eat, ribeye steak, sirloin steak, whichever one, and drink water? How much do you want to bet that this whole thing is going to go away in like a few months? So, I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's my fear of death. And so I want to spend the rest of this video talking about what to do when faced with death. So, oh, I just hit the mic. I did just hit the mic. I did it again. Hopefully I didn't just demolish your eardrums. So, death. You've got to learn to accept the fact that everyone, including yourself, including the people that you love, everyone's going to die. One day. Some sooner than others, right? Some people, they work out, they eat healthy, they live a healthy lifestyle, they, get regular exercise. Maybe they were born with like no health conditions. They had nothing like me, where they went through something um, ever. They rarely get sick. They have a strong immune system. And you have people that live to 100, 120, 140 years old. And you have people who, like abortions, right? You don't even get to experience life, and you're already murdered. And you've got to learn to accept that you've got a big number. Maybe it's a small number now. Maybe it was never a big number in hindsight. But you've got a number. And every second that you waste is a second that gets taken off. So, you waste 1 second every day. You waste 6 minutes a year. You waste hours of your life. 1 second a day is hours off your life. So how much is 3 hours of TikTok a day taking off your life? 3 times 360 is what, 720? It's 1080 plus 15, so almost 1100 hours every year, then 1100 times, I guess you could say, let's say you live to 75. What would it be? It'd be, so 3 over 24 is 1 over 8. So 9 years. If you waste 3 hours a day on your phone, you've taken 9 years off your life. Just let that sink in. 3 hours a day on your phone. 3 hours. And you've taken a decade off your life. People don't realize that. Like, I feel like most people, if you just laid out the consequences of their actions in front of their face and just said, if you keep doing this, this is what's going to happen to you. I feel like most people would actually probably do at least less. But they just don't understand the fact that that's the truth. And so what is it? I think the average social media use by a teenager is 4 hours a day. That's a sixth of your life. A sixth of your life. 17% of your life on a phone. That's half your life in sleeping in your phone. That's half your life. 75 divided by 2 is what? 33, 32.5? Or 37.5? 38 years sleeping on social media. Like, that's crazy. It sounds crazy, but it's true. And you don't realize it. You don't realize it until it's too late. And then it's too late. So don't murder yourself. I mean, taking 38 years off someone's life, that's a half murder. So social media, you've just killed yourself 17%. You've just killed 17% of yourself, of your life. You do that willfully. And you call it fun. But it's not. Think about the time that you were the happiest in your life. You weren't watching a YouTube video. You weren't scrolling on TikTok. You weren't watching TV. Where were you? With your friends? Your family? The people that you love? You achieved that goal that you've been working for the past 10 years? You got that job that you wanted to? Your business is finally blowing up? Your YouTube channel is finally blowing up? That was the happiest moment in your life. And yet, for some reason, you think that this is what's going to get you fun? This. Look at this. This is 17% of your life. This. %17 of your life is a chunk of metal. That's something that you and I are never going to fully comprehend. What does this have to do with the death? When you die, before you die, you're going to look back on your life, right? As long as you don't instantly die, right? If you're probably like most people probably experience their last moments knowing that they're about to die. Probably, right? Maybe. What are you going to say to yourself? What are you going to say to yourself? Are you going to say to yourself, why did I kill 17% of me? Or more? Or are you going to say to yourself, I'm grateful for the sacrifices that I made? And the good news is that it's your choice. You get to choose. Which one? Am I going to waste 1,100 hours a year? I mean, just think about that. 1,100 hours a year. 1100. If someone offered you $1,100 to hold a snake if you're scared of snakes, hold a spider if you're scared of spiders, if they offered you that much money to just do something that you really didn't want to do, how fast would you do it? Probably pretty fast. Probably most people would be like, all right, I'll hold a spider for like 10 seconds if I get $1,100. 1,100 hours. Hours. Not dollars. Hours. Imagine what you could do at that time. How many days is 1,100 hours? What is that, 50 days? So it's like 1.5 months. 1.5 month. If you had 2 months left, because you probably spend more than 1,100 hours, so let's say you had two months left to live. It might not be pleasant, but 2 months is actually quite a long time. And in that 2 months, you can do a heck of a lot of stuff. And you would, wouldn't you? If you had 2 months left to live. Maybe you'd finally say sorry to the people that you hurt. Maybe you finally go make peace with your siblings or your parents. Why wait until you have 2 months left? And maybe you do. Maybe you have less, maybe you have more. Does it matter? If you had 1 day left to live, what would you do? Probably not scroll on social media, hopefully, right? You'd probably go talk to your family. You'd probably do a lot of setting up, getting stuff to other people so they can profit from your death. As much as it is a profit, right? Because, I mean, you're still dying. It's not good. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the going and making peace with your family. If you had 1 day left to live, what would you do? And then, of course, you know exactly what I'm going to say next. Why aren't you doing it now? But seriously, why aren't you doing it now? The good news is that you probably have more than a day left to live. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do what you would have done had you have had one day left. And so death's a motivator. Because you can shake your fist at God and you can say, why did you make us mortal? Why? It sucks. Because no one wants to die, but everyone's going to do it. Or it's going to happen to everyone, right? So why the heck why do we die? But you realize that if we live forever, we already waste 17% of our life on our phone. How much more of our life would we waste if we were immortal, if we lived forever? If no one died? And maybe death makes life less painful. Maybe it's necessary. Maybe if we never died, we'd never live. Because why would you? There's this idea now that people are becoming familiar with. A person gets asked, would you rather die right now or live forever? And usually the people that actually think about the question say, I'd rather die right now. But maybe if you're a young, naive person, maybe too optimistic about life, life hasn't punched you too hard yet, you'd say, well, why wouldn't you want to live forever? And so, of course, there's scientific reasons to that. The heat death of the universe or whatever. And, of course, when people talk about living forever, they're not talking about going to heaven or going to hell. They're talking about living forever in this life. But everybody who thinks about the question says, I'd rather die right now. And why? Because you wouldn't want to live forever. And so it's like, yeah, death sucks. It really sucks when people die. I completely agree with that. It's terrible. And it's one of the only times that men allow other men to cry. But without it, life would be worse. So it's necessary. Why death? Why not? Why wouldn't? And so what do I mean by if nobody died, nobody would live? Well, it takes the threat of death to force someone to do something with their life. Because if you never die, then the excuse, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow, it works. Because tomorrow's always going to come. So every day you can wake up and say, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. And you can say that forever. But the reason being, how do you make life worth living? Is life worth living? Some people might say no. Some people have said no. A lot, actually. Terrifyingly enough, a lot. And why? Because a lot of the time, life just sucks. Life is like a heavyweight boxer that never gets tired, that never sleeps, that never rests, never has to eat, never has to rehydrate on some water, never has to attend to something else, and sometimes leaves you alone, and sometimes hands you a cupcake. Sometimes life throws the hardest punch it can throw. And people get hit with that and they don't ever get back up. And hey, that's reasonable. Because if you get back up, that means you're just going to get hit again. And again. And again and again and again. Until you die. So what the heck is the point of that? Well, maybe you can fight back. Maybe you can dodge the punches. Maybe you can only block the punches. Maybe instead of getting a direct hit to the chin, it can just barely clip the edge. Maybe you win. You won't, but that's called hope. And it's required for life. If you don't have hope for the future, if you don't have hope that you can dodge the punch, that you can block the punch, that you can only have it barely hit you instead of fully hit you, if you don't have hope, the ref counts to 10. Or you get knocked out. But the fight seems pointless. You know, the fight's 75 rounds, one for every year. For the first few rounds, it goes light for some people, for most people. Nowadays, at least. It seems to start picking up its pace once you become a teenager. And, you know, once you get married with kids, it's like, yeah, it's starting to throw punches now. It's starting to throw left hooks, uppercuts, kicks to the head. So how the heck do you make that fight worth it? Because life's going to win in the end. And it's like, well, how the heck do I make it worth it? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? That's a question. The root word for question is quest. So go on a quest. Figure it out. I can't tell you why you should live your life. I can only tell you why you should look for the meaning. There is meaning to your life. You have a purpose. And that's very important. Find it. Now. If you don't, you're just going to keep taking the punches until you fall down. Rule 1 is to not let life knock you down. And rule 2 is, when you get knocked down, because you will, get back up. And rule number 3 is, throw the hardest punch you can throw. And aim it directly at the head. So what does that mean? Picking up your cross. Denying yourself. Shedding your deadwood and being born again. Taking on as much responsibility as possible. Walking the short, narrow path. Confronting your fears. Not accepting defeat. Telling the truth, or at least not lying, in the face of severe consequences from the tyrant himself. Full confrontation with Satan, to be tempted, scorned, mocked, and laughed at. Taking all that on and doing so willfully. And it sounds like a heck of a lot, and it is. It is a lot. For whoever loses his life, for Christ's sake, will find it. But whoever seeks his own life will lose it. That doesn't make any sense. If I search for my life, I'm going to lose it. And if I give it away, I'm going to find it. Like, really, that just doesn't make sense. Well, look around. Everybody's looking for their own life. And they're losing it. And the guys that have sacrificed it found it. So if you want to find your life, if you want to find your mission, find your purpose, sacrifice everything that is serpentine. Do so willfully. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's necessary. There's a difference. What's the fastest way to get a six-pack? What's the fastest way to get rich? What's the fastest way? Anything. The fastest way? You want the fastest way? The fastest way is right here, right now. Sacrifice everything, including your life and the life of your loved ones, to God right now. That's the fastest way. But often that takes time. And hey, makes sense to me. Took me a while. Years, maybe. Years to realize that that's what I needed to do. And I'm still sacrificing. Yeah, it's going to take a long time. It's going to be painful. You're going to suffer. It's going to suck. But maybe, if you aim high enough, what you will achieve will outweigh the pain and suffering required to get it. And maybe, if what you aim at is perhaps very good, it makes the pain and suffering of your whole life worth it. That's worth it. It's not that I'm brave. It's not that I'm righteous. It's not that I'm a good person. It's that I look at the other side and I say, that's a heck of a lot worse. And it is. It is a heck of a lot worse. Literally. Ask yourself the proper questions, go on the proper quest, and you will find your purpose. Pee break. The camera followed me. Hey. There we go. Bring it down with my hand. Alright. So, we're back. Back at it. I don't know if I'm going to cut that out or not. Probably not, but I guess you had a few minutes to think about what I said. I did just yap for an hour, so. But it turns out I know a few things, so that's good. All right, we got one more hour to go. Talked about purpose. I know what my purpose is. I found it by praying. And my purpose, I said it myself. I said something along the lines of, there are people out there who need to hear you. And I realized, well, how are they going to hear him? Me. And you. If you're watching a video like this. God speaks to us. Sometimes he just lets us figure it out ourselves. Reasonable thing to do. That's what he did it with me. He let me figure it out. He let me say it myself. He works like that. And it works really well. Here I am. 1.5 years later. And he might have already called you. You just haven't realized it. Or you just haven't accepted it. So which one is it? That was loud. I have to pop my fingers every now and again. Ooh. Now I'm just going to pop everything. Alright, here's my back. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it, but I don't know if you heard it. Hang on, I got to be quiet. Oh, I think you might have heard that. Okay. I'm looking at the little sound bar moving. Trying to see if it did it or not, but there we go. I'll give you nice and crisp, bro. Alright, I should stop doing that because if I do that long enough, my hands start hurting, and that's probably not good, right? So, back to purpose. You can find your purpose, and I think you can do so very fast. I think you've got to do exactly what I did, and you have to pray to God, and you have to ask him, God, what do you want me to do? Because I have no idea, and I'm not figuring it out myself, and I really need help because life seems meaningless, and it seems hopeless, and it seems like there's no desirable future, and it seems like it's just pain and suffering, and that's all there is, and it's just a little bit of life and then death, and all things are going to come to an end, and it just seems like I've got nothing. If you come to him like that, honestly, authentically, you will get an answer. Whoever asks receives. I forgot it. Whoever asks receives. Whoever seeks finds, and whoever knocks, the door will be opened. So knock, seek, search, look for it. I guess it's there. You just gotta find it. So what do you do once you've found this purpose? Raw action. Raw action. I think that's what I did. I hope. I'm pretty sure it was like God told me, or I said to myself, God revealed to me that my purpose was to reveal his purpose. And I think really soon after, I started making YouTube videos. 1 hour mark. I just watched it go over to an hour. Alright. Well, we're halfway through. And I've basically gotten through a lot of the stuff that I wanted to talk about previously. Well, you are alive, and you're going to die, so why would you do it sooner? I mean, you're going to be here, might as well try. And hey, that's a pretty good mindset to have. You might as well try. Give it a go. And you know, maybe you're just going to get punched in the face over and over again. Maybe. Probably, right? But God's plan? Suffering's part of it. God has made people suffer. I think he might be making me suffer to overcome my fear of death. Maybe. But if you didn't suffer, fun wouldn't be fun. You know, people chase happiness. It doesn't work. Just look around. It doesn't work. You chase happiness, you spend 17% of your life doing something that's going to make the rest of your life miserable. More miserable. You don't chase happiness. It just... Well, it flies by, I'm happy, and then it goes away. Don't chase it. Don't chase it. Because you're never going to catch it. I mean, you can delude yourself into thinking that you caught it. And people do all the time. They think that they've captured happiness. It's a delusion. It's a false reality. It's not true. They probably captured a demon. And that's something that you don't want to capture. I woke up early again today. 3:30. My last video, I was awake at 2:30. So I guess my sleep's getting better. The days that I wake up early, it's an hour later. So that's pretty good. But you know what I did for like an hour? I scrolled on YouTube Shorts, watched YouTube videos. And man, I beat myself up over that, you know. I really do get mad at myself whenever I just spend an hour on social media. I really wish I would have recorded this video in the morning, like I did my other one. My other video I started recording at like 3 and stopped at 5 a.m. This video I started at 2:13 p.m. 2:14 p.m. I've been suffering recently because of this, whatever the heck you want to call this. That's why I'm making this video. For the other people that are suffering. Something you should keep in mind is that if you are suffering, which you probably are because everybody suffers, you can make it worse. You can make it a heck of a lot worse. And you know how you do that? Scrolling on TikTok. Scrolling on YouTube Shorts. And I'm mad right now thinking about it. It's making me so angry. I want to punch this desk, destroy it, and karate chop it in half. Use that anger. I looked at someone's post on school.com. If you want to go, just go to school.com. It's where I'm going to be probably hosting my online course I'm going to make relatively soon. I just need to start making money off of YouTube, and then I'll start it all up. The post was about desire. Not every desire is bad. And maybe even desire itself isn't bad. That's not to say that lust is good or anything, or that anger, as in hatred towards people, is a good thing. It's not. They're both not. They're both terrible, awful things that have corrupted us. But desire itself isn't bad. It's desire in a bad form or desire used in a bad way. And that's when it becomes bad. So learn to use desire for good. Learn to use desire for good. How do you do that? What is desire? Energy? Energy can come out of a nuclear bomb in the east. Energy can be released or inside a bullet from a gun aimed at an innocent person. Energy can be lust. Energy can be hatred, anger towards a person. Energy can be all sorts of evil things. Energy can also be in the form of electricity for people to have air conditioning, lights, a functional laptop. Energy that we get from food is giving me the energy to make these videos. So energy isn't bad. It's how it's used. So direct it at the right thing. If you have anger for a person, firstly ask yourself why you're angry. I'm angry because that person said that I'm a loser, and part of the reason why I'm angry is because it's true. I mean loser as in like, you're making improper sacrifices. I don't call people losers anymore. I think it's too judgmental. But let's say someone called you a loser and you're what society would say is a loser. Ask yourself if you would do the same thing to someone else, and wrongfully so. The answer is probably yes. The thing that you're mad at a person for doing to you, to someone else, or just in general, just their existence, that can make some people pretty mad. Ask yourself if you're perfect. Accept the fact that you're not, to put it plainly, because you aren't. So, be humble. Submit your will to God and either deal away with the desire or direct it at the purpose, the mission, the life that God has for you, aimed at the highest possible good, God Himself. And if you do that, then you'll probably use anger in a proper way. You know, anger isn't bad. People are actually not angry enough at the right things. So what should you be angry at? Evil. Sin. You should be really angry. Fuming. Your head on fire. Why? If you don't hate evil, then you probably love it. That's not good. That is really not good for you or for anybody else. Why? Its desire is contrary to you. It desires to have you. You must rule over it. It desires to have its way with you, not for you to have its way with it. People don't realize that. It's true. So true that you should act accordingly. So what does that mean? Sacrifice your will to God. What the heck does that mean? Thanks for asking all these questions. To sacrifice your will to God, to follow His will instead, deny yourself. Going back to that humility. Accept the fact that you're not perfect, that you're not even close, and strive to be perfect as much as you can. Why set a goal that you know you can't achieve? Well, look, if I say that I wanted to do 100 push-ups today, that was my goal, I'd do them. I feel happy about myself. Well, I achieved my goal, so. Did you? What if you did one more? What if you did 10 more? 100 more? 900 more? So, okay, I'll set my goal to 1,000. You can always do 1,001, 1,010, 1,100, 2,000. Add 8,000 more. 10,000. Well, that's just not possible for today. Okay, you can't do 10,000 today. How about this month? What is that? 333 push-ups a day. Something like that. Okay. That's actually not that terrible. I mean, you're probably going to be sore. It's probably going to be difficult, but hey, you can pull it off. What about 100,000 push-ups? This year, maybe. So 100,000 divided by 365 is like 300 something, right? Yeah, it's like 300 push-ups a day, okay? Maybe you want to do 3 years, so it's 100 push-ups a day for 3 years. That's 100,000 push-ups. What about 1,000,000? What about 10 million? What about 100 a day for 75 years is a lot, right? Too big of a number for me to calculate in my head. Okay, so the goal is 100 a day. But then you could do 101 a day. So what goal should you set? Why not all of them? How many push-ups do you want to do before you die? Infinite. It's literally impossible, right? You cannot do infinite push-ups. That's just definitionally, right? But you can do more than you aimed at. So what do you aim at? Well, you aim at all. And you do that with everything. And then you just balance it. And so your goal isn't to do 100 push-ups. Your goal is to do push-ups. That number, right? Incomprehensible number. It's a million, bajillion, quadrillion push-ups. And so you set that goal for yourself. And obviously you don't achieve it. Right? Maybe you do a few million push-ups in your life. And that's good. Good for you, right? But imagine if you only set your goal for 1,000,000 and you achieved it, and that's it. Could have done 2 million. And so set goals that you know you can't achieve. I made a video titled Become a Failure. Literally, become a failure. Fail all day, every day. Why? Well, would you rather fail but have done your best, or have succeeded but you still had more in you? Obviously, you push yourself to your limits. Because until you push yourself to your limits, you don't realize your limits. And don't think that you have a clue what your limits are. I know my push-up limit. It's 101. I did 101 and I physically couldn't do another one. I literally laid on the floor for 10 minutes and couldn't do another push-up, right? So I know my limits. But do you? Imagine if my goal was 100. Well, I did 101. So if I set that goal for myself, I wouldn't have achieved what I could have achieved. And how are you supposed to call that success? You're not successful if you set a goal for yourself to drink out of a water bottle and you do it. That doesn't make you successful. And obviously, because then everybody would be. And the word wouldn't have any value. Just like if death wasn't a thing, life wouldn't have value. Life's a long game. Cheaters never win. Quitters never win. Losers never win. Winners win. How? They give it their all. That's what that means. Deny yourself. Pick up your cross and follow me, said Jesus. It means push yourself to your limits and then go past it. If you do that, then you're less limited. And hooray to that. That's a life worth living. A life worth living is one where you accept the fact that you're gonna die, and you pick up your cross and do it willfully. And death can be in your sleep, or it can be on a bloody cross. After being whipped, hit, betrayed, wrongfully so, naked and embarrassed. Well, Jesus wasn't embarrassed. Naked with people's intentions to embarrass you for the last hours of your life. And there's all in between that. And you know what? Maybe if you go on this path, you might just die on a cross instead of in your sleep. So live a life that justifies it. The life that justifies it is the life that God has called you to. So go. Live it. Do it. Be it. Sacrifice the snakes within you. Shed your dead wood and be born again. That's the message that I'm trying to get to you. I'm going to say it again. You're going to die. And maybe soon. And you can be like how I used to be like. Be terrified of it. All day. All night. Or you can stand up, pick up your sword, fight. You won't win, but you might not die. That's better. I was watching some animated movie edits today. One was from Kung Fu Panda. I watched the 3 battle scenes in Kung Fu Panda 1 through 3. And then I watched the Cat in Boots. You know what I'm talking about, right? I don't know why they had to make it that name, but whatever, you know? The Cat in Boots, the little orange cat. What happens to him? Death comes for him. He's on his 9th life. Death comes for us all. Are you going to run? You can't. He'll find you. Or are you going to pick up your bloody sword and swing? That's your choice. And it determines the profitability of your life. the second part of this video. Face your fears. Head on. Do so willfully and gratefully. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on the account of God. Rejoice and be glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Nothing truer. Well, is the opposite true? Cursed are those who don't suffer for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of Cain. Maybe. Maybe that's for you to figure out. For you to ask yourself. You know, a question I ask myself sometimes. What are you doing? You know, whenever I ask myself that, while I'm playing video games, while I'm watching YouTube shorts and TikTok and other stuff, while wasting 17% of my life away, I never ask myself what I'm doing when I know that what I'm doing is right. Because I know that what I'm doing is right. Don't ask me how to start. Don't ask me, how do I find my purpose? You know. You just haven't accepted the fact that you know. Maybe you don't know what God's called you to, but you know enough to take the first step forward. So stop asking me how to take the 10th step when you haven't taken the first 9. Often, whenever you've taken that 9th step, the 10th step is laid out clearly in front of you. And often, if it's not, you took the wrong step, the wrong path. How do you know if you're on the right path? Enter through the narrow gate. For large is the gate, and broad is the path that leads to destruction, and there are many who find it. Small is the gate, narrow is the path that leads to life. Those who find it are few. When you're on that narrow path, you know. You know. Because it's bloody narrow. And narrow means it's really easy to fall off. And if you don't walk perfectly straight, you will fall off. How do you walk perfectly straight? For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. That everlasting life, path's narrow, the gate's small, the way is hard, and those who find it are few. Find it now. The fear of death. Don't let it control you. Like a puppet, moving you around with strings. There's so many people. And I'm not judging these people. What's up? I'm making a video right now, so. So, I don't know if I'm gonna edit those out. It's the second time I've had someone come in the room, so I don't know. Probably not. I like the idea of just pressing record and then pressing stop record and just uploading the video. Too many people are posting fake versions of their life on social media to make it appear like their life is all sunshine and rainbows, and it's not. You look at these guys on social media, these big muscular guys, these women just, showing nothing but their butt. It's like not even them. It's almost an AI generated image. That, or it is them, and it's just the best 10-minute period of their month on social media. It's like, forget it, man. Your life's not gonna be all sunshine and rainbows. And if you're asking for that, all I want is to be happy. Really, all you want is no more suffering and peaceful bliss for the rest of your life. That's all you want? Really, that's all. That's it? Nothing else. Are you sure? That's never going to happen to you. Never. And good morning. The answer isn't to go to sleep. The answer is to bloody get out of bed and move forward. You're conscious. You've got to work. So do it. Yeah, you're going to suffer. You kidding me? If you think that you want to be great and you're going to suffer less or the same as you're suffering right now, then you are naive. You have no idea. And if you don't learn that from this video or anybody else or anything else, you're going to learn it from life. Like I said earlier, sometimes, usually in the beginning rounds, life is just doing that, but by the 25th round, the 30th round, it's full. And if you're not ready for that, you're going to get knocked down. If you don't have your guard up, if you don't expect it, if you haven't been training your neck to absorb more of the punch, good luck, because that's going to be one heck of a punch. So, 25 minutes left. It's already over. Well, hopefully you've learned something from this video. I guess I can throw in a few actionable steps. What to do after you realize that you're gonna die. This water is not cold at all. Well, there's a few things you can do whenever you learn that you're gonna die. One of them is to make it happen sooner. That's not... That just makes things worse. Why does it make things worse? Because you never had the opportunity to make your life worth living. And that is a terrible, awful thing to happen to anybody. Why? Because for the 100th time this video, you're gonna suffer. It's gonna suck. I'm drilling it in your brain. You're gonna die. You're gonna suffer. Life sucks. It's gonna punch you in the face, and it's gonna bloody hurt. And it's not life's fault. It's yours. Why is it your fault? It's not your responsibility that you got hit. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, sometimes it just bloody happens. It's your responsibility if when you get hit, you get knocked down, if you get back up. If you don't get back up, it gets worse. It gets worse if you don't get back up. You've got to get back up. You've got to make the fight worth it. And you do that not by winning, not even by throwing any good punches. You make life worth it by giving it bloody everything you've got. And in doing so, you sacrifice yourself. You lose yourself. And because you lost it, you find it. Because you find it, you have it. It's worth it. And you can smile. You can look back on the sacrifices you've made. Say, you know, it's really good that I did that. What is work? The sacrifice of your current self to your future self. That means right now is going to suck. It's your fault because you chose to do it. But it means that the future has hope. Man, if you don't have hope, if you don't have hope, if you can't see the promised land, or if you're not following someone who can, it gets worse. And if you don't think that life can get worse, if you tell yourself this can't get any worse, you're wrong. And terribly so. Because you can make it bloody worse. If you think you're in hell, yeah, just wait. People don't get told that. They just experience hell. They don't get told that there's a promised land for them and their people. God's people. Like, no wonder they kill themselves. because they look into the future and they see pain and suffering, and that's it. Who would want to live if that's what they saw? Like, why are people killing themselves? Why wouldn't they? They've got all the reason to. It's like, how about the next time we see somebody moving forward, we say, good for you, keep going. Because, like, if we don't, then maybe they'll stop. And that's worse for them. It's worse for you. It's worse for everybody else alive. And it's worse for everybody that's gonna be alive. We see people all the time. When you see people making a mistake, maybe they're trying. And ask them that. When they make a mistake, you ask them why. Why did you do that? And maybe it's because they thought it was a good thing to do. And maybe they're wrong. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe you're both wrong. You can't just criticize people, because you're not criticizing their mistake. You're criticizing their hope. When you do that, no wonder. Why is Gen Z the most depressed, suicidal generation in the world? Because nobody tells them that if they aim upward with all they've got, it'll be worth it. They don't get told that. It's a sin. It's a sin to not tell people that. It's like the highest level of hatred that you could have for someone is to either not tell them that there's a way out, or to tell them that they can't do it, or that they aren't, and that they won't ever. It's the most awful thing you could ever say to someone. And yet it's being said and done all day, every day, for the past decades. People need to hear someone that has hope. Be that person. Because if you aren't, then maybe no one else will be. And that's slavery. That's slavery. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations. That's what that means. To show people the fact that Jesus is our living hope. At least he should be. If he's not, you bloody better make sure he is very soon. Or else. Or else there's a flood. Or else there's a Tower of Babel. both do not end well. When I was young, I was never told that I had hope. I was never told that there was something I could strive for that would make my life meaningful. And I'm glad that you've watched to this point of the video and realized that that's not the case. There are people that kill themselves because no one told them or was an example of the fact that there's hope. So why take on responsibility? Why deny yourself and shoulder your cross? Because if you don't, what do people have? What do people have when they don't have a leader? They're enslaved. I was scared of death because I had no hope. I was scared of death because no one told me that there was hope. That's the most awful thing that can happen to anybody. It makes you think. Maybe people should be depressed. Maybe they should be suicidal. You might question, why the heck would anybody ever say that? Because depression isn't the problem. Feeling suicidal isn't the problem. The problem's hope. And these people that have killed themselves have been deprived dry of it. And it's part of the calling. Depression, anxiety, feeling suicidal. It's a consequence of someone, maybe yourself, making a mistake. So when you're depressed, when you're anxious, when you're sad, there's a reason. Something bad happened, or is happening, or is going to happen. No matter what, maintain your upward aim, maintain hope. Or else, what do you have other than pain and suffering? Love thy neighbor as thyself. What does that mean? It means you bloody shoulder your cross willfully and you walk uphill. What does that mean? No matter what price, no matter what punishment, you say, I'll follow you. And that's the dreadful calling that we've been called to. But maybe it's not so dreadful. Maybe it's required. Maybe it's necessary to have life more abundant. look around and I see these people, and they're hopeless. They don't think life has a meaning. They're suffering. I see that and I go, who's done this? Who would allow this to happen? And who would do it? Everyone's to blame, including myself. Everyone's to blame. That doesn't mean that you blame everyone else. It means that you blame you and everyone else. And when you blame yourself, you sacrifice. You're going uphill. A lot of people that are successful have some darn terrible stories to tell. Some bloody stories to tell. It's like the people that are most successful are the people that have been beaten near death. And maybe willfully. So you want to be great? You want to be rich? You want to be happy? You want to be successful? Go from the land of your kindred to the land that God will show you. And you will be a blessing. Your descendants will be a blessing. Remember this. %. 17%. No wonder you're hopeless. And no wonder you're suicidal. Because maybe you should be. Maybe it's the call out of slavery. To say to the tyrant, let my people go. That's the denial of yourself. That's the hoisting of your cross. That's the losing of your life for Christ's sake, to gain it back. Does life suck? Yeah. Yeah. A lot. A lot of the time. Can it be worse? Infinitely worse. Infinitely worse. And you can be the one to make it worse. So don't make it worse. For yourself, for your family, for the world. Death can be feared, wrongfully so. It can be put in the highest possible place, wrongfully so. It can be ignored, wrongfully so. it can be properly conceptualized as the calling to live a life worthy of the calling to which you've been called. Rightfully so. So stop loving your life. Stop fearing death. If you fear death, death will come. Life will get worse. Hell will appear on earth. If you love your life, you're going to lose it. And it's going to be a painful, bloody process. Sacrifice everything to God, and you'll gain it all back. Not in the same way, in a better way. That's the good news. The good news is not that you can say the words, "I believe," and that no matter what you do, you'll be blessed. The good news is, if you sacrifice everything, there's hope. Like I said, man, people kill themselves because they don't have hope. You've got to find it. You've got to find it. Hope overcomes death. Triumphantly. See, you've got to have some. You've got to see the promised lands in front of you. If you don't, you'll wander in the desert for 40 years. Don't worship false gods. You'll wander in the desert for 40 years. Don't sacrifice what is second best. You'll wander in the desert for 40 bloody, excruciatingly painful years. We who wrestle with God. What does that mean, wrestle with God? It's to have hope in the future, to take on your responsibility and as much as you can bear, to aim upwards, to walk uphill, shouldering your cross, denying yourself, and teaching others to do accordingly. I hope you enjoyed this video. All authority on heaven and earth has been given to Jesus Christ. Go therefore, making disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything that Jesus has commanded us. And surely Jesus Christ will be with us till the end. And please, if you haven't, do yourself a favor. Have hope in the future. Teach others to have hope also.